the test bases or the source of information on which we derive test cases in specification-based techniques are the specification or some other kind of models of what the system should do. If you have a system consists of different modules as shown in the screen, in black box testing, you don't have any information about how the software is constructed. It's a black box for you. Remember also that the specification can contain non-functional elements as well as functional elements. Topics such as usability, reliability, and performance are examples of non-functional elements. These need to be systematically tested as well. What we need then are techniques that can explore the specific behavior systematically and thoroughly in a way that is as efficient as we can make it. You need to know 5 specification-based techniques for this foundation certificate curriculum: equivalence partitioning, boundary value analysis, decision table testing, state transition testing, and use case testing. Each of those test case design techniques is based on some simple principles that arise from what we know in general about software behavior. Let's start by the first one, equivalence partitioning. Let's go back to our simple example of the employee age, and let's assume that the tester decided to use 20, 30, and 40 to test this screen. For some, wow, this tester has created 3 test cases, which is very good. But look closely, what do you think of those test cases? 20, 30, and 40. Can you claim that this method is correct? Absolutely not. Actually, the chosen 3 test cases are exactly the same. Each one of them will test exactly the same behavior as the others. This is very inefficient. Well, you know as a tester from the specification that the age of the employee accepts a number. If you try to test each number, you will end up with tens of thousands of test cases. Again, this will be inefficient. So what should we do? Equivalence partitioning is based on the idea that inputs are divided into partitions that are expected to exhibit similar behavior. One value from each partition should be selected. Equivalent partitions, or classes as some books might refer to, can be found for both valid data and invalid data, applicable at all levels of testing. Remember the levels of testing: component testing, integration testing, system testing, acceptance testing, and so on. So in our example, the field accepts any value between 20 and 60. We would expect the software to accept values in the range and reject the values below the range, and maybe display an error message saying, sorry, but number should be above or equal 20, and also reject the values above the range and maybe display an error message saying, sorry, but number should be lower than or equals to 50. Each of these is known as equivalence partition, because every value inside the partition is exactly equivalent to any other value as far as our software is concerned. The next step is to choose one value to represent the partition for testing. That for sure will reduce the number of test cases we need to write. So in our case, we might select 10, 40, and 60, and that's it. 3 test cases. You might ask, what about real numbers and characters? You are totally correct. In the real world, we should include them. If you think about it for a moment, we would have a partition for whole numbers and another for real numbers. Also, we would have a partition for numbers and another for non-numbers, characters and special characters. You might also have a partition for positive numbers, a second for negative number, and a third partition just for 0. Finally, you should select one value from each of those partitions. This is as far as you need to know for the exam according to the ISTQB curriculum. Equivalent partitioning is a richer topic than this, but this is all what you need to know for now. So the main idea in equivalence partitioning is to actually define the partitions, and as you may notice, valid and invalid partitions should be defined. One trick in equivalence partitioning questions is to know if they are looking for valid partitions or invalid partitions or both. If they didn't indicate anything, then they are looking for both valid and invalid partitions.